How did Smokey Robinson do it? He'd say, "Baby, come close, put your hand in mine." Telling you, there's nothing wrong with modern music, but the old music is already there for you. It's already the vibration on how to have or try to have a high vibration is already a given because of the music done in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So all right, outstanding, outstanding. uh, some old film from the 60s. All right, that shit's probably from '05 or '06. May the power of blue argonite propel you. May the power of blue argonite propel you. Every night we give out that thunderbolt energy. We give you the thunderbolt energy. That's what this is the thunderbolt. But to try to show you how much power is in it all, they try to show you that the thunderbolt takes its energy from the directions as well, because that's what they see here. But again, you can turn this design basically into that by just adding more of the ribbons up here. But it's just a different. In this possession, I guess I'm getting off a little bit, but in this position, it is really a powerful tool. I would say in some ways you could dang near use this kind of the way wands would be used. You could generate the same kind of energy as you use and you generate in wands. You can use this. As I said before, I was in a reality. I forget the monkey god's name. The Monkey King, basically. It appears like I don't know if I'm that came back. I don't know, but I'm able to be that. A couple instances, I'm able to be like the Monkey King, I guess is what I'm saying. But this was always the weapon I used. I used this. Because remember, again, being the Monkey King, coming in, and you can use this as a vehicle to fly. Remember, if you studied fully Monkey King, his staff had that ability. But I would come in, and I know, whatever was going on, there was nothing more powerful, at least in the plane, that apparently I might have helped create or created, but nothing could be stronger than when I would bring this out. So I give this energy to everybody. But more importantly, I give it to you in sound. Oh, there we go. As you can see, the Thunderbolt in its full presentation. I want to get into it, man. Moving, grooving. Well, let me introduce myself. If you've never watched me before, I go by many different names. A-Win, Big Pontiac, the Time Lord, Starface. I take all that. But in this inference, in this scenario, I go by Big Pontiac. And this is the Chocolate Mountain Show. And I'm also the holder of the sacred infinite ball game created by the Hero Twins. This is what I was looking for. But I am also your one and only galactic daddy-o, sitting on the Chocolate Mountain Galactic Patio, welcoming all the Chocolate Mountaineers from Minnesota and beyond. I'm going to say beyond instead of the universe. And tonight's special beer is Founders Porter out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. 6.5 in potency. So pop them if you got them. And I have something that you do not have, and that is the George Killian's Irish Red Barrel Mug that exposes all these dark caramels that you wish you could have and that you don't. But right now, you just wish you were me, and you just wish you were sitting here holding this just amber ambrosia goodness. But go ahead and you can just be you, not have it. Or if you got it, toast to the booty. Right on. So, George Clinton, it's a toast to the boogie. Bottoms up. I am doing edibles, so herb edibles, right on with the herb edibles. So smoke them if you want them. So I saw Mother Backbone. I saw, here we go. What's happening, Smoking Bigs 06? Sherry Lita. How you doing? Thank you for coming in. I see that you're using the Varja. Yeah, the Varja. I got a couple different Varjas. I wear one. What to do? I wear one like this, but it's quartz. You know, sometimes you be ordering this shit from Japan or China and you don't be knowing. It's like I had to take it. I'm like, man, is this quartz? So I ordered the necklace. He's like, yeah, it's quartz. But you know, you see me wearing it. It's heavy as hell, got the beads. But yeah, it's the Thunderbolt. It's the same thing. You know, they had Zeus use it, Aquaman. It all comes from the Virgin, but comes from the Gators. Yeah. Hey, there's conspiracy. What's happening? I had something else to show you. I can't remember, but man, I hit a lick conspiracy. I had a nice little lick. Found some people didn't know what they had. Sun Wu Kong, yeah, the Monkey King. Yeah, I had a nice little statue that my oldest son had. But why, brother, the Macbone, let's give love, you know, to the. He always comes in with the Black Jaguar essence, you know, the transformation. Let's give love to the transformation for sure. And whoops. There we go. I'm printing shit. But yeah, send out that transformation Jaguar energy. And too many people gonna, you know, try to give you this. They just don't know how to use it. But if you talk about it every day, you start living this stuff, it works for you. And I even wanted to say, you know, I usually wear the I don't even know it, but the ball player. And so I even give you more, the ball player. So it was a chin strap. Kind of ear protector. And as I've said before, you know, what people miss about this, and I'm the only one that really talks about it, and it just shows you they don't really study this stuff enough to understand all what you're seeing. That I said before, this little piece right here served as basically the face mask. That's what that little piece right there is for. And I'm the only one that'll give you that. Most people don't understand or study enough to understand this. But that little piece right there is modern day face mask. Kind of little nose protection, little face protection. This is quite a great. This is statue one. Let me point out some other things of statue one. Is it of the first two statues? Statue two, I think they busted out. They tried to bust out the lips. This particular statue, all this was busted out. And you see a guy in the 20s and 30s, he fixes it. But this was all busted out. What you have to remember, this stuff was made out of basalt. And you know, jackhammer have hard time going through a big boulder of basalt. So what they had in the 20s and 30s to try to hide this, because they was trying to, you know, try to bust this stuff up so people wouldn't learn. They didn't want you to know that people like this was in Americas. So wanted to send that out for show. Vodka, thank you for coming. My favorite drink is fresh water, tail water. Oh yeah, I gotta boil some parsley, and I think I'm gonna boil some parsley. And I'm hotboxing the Tahoe as we speak. Okay. It ain't warm there. It ain't warm. Like I'm sitting over here, and I got a window, and I got the curtains, you know, for a little sound thing. But yeah, I couldn't be seen sitting in the car. I guess windows down ain't too bad. Hey, Dr. Sinister, thank you for joining. I'm still waiting on your phone call. Discuss Deep Black Jaguar. Okay. It kind of be discussed on YouTube. Okay. I'll call you. I'm sorry. Be forgetting. And can't say I'll be terribly busy. I'll just be forgetting. Oh. Busy moving around today, and it's funny. It's funny how this thing, as I say, I pretty much captured the driving, and that's why I know I saw a glitch. I found a glitch. I think I made the system even glitch because going into traffic, On the highway, it's clear. It says right lane is blocked up front. And I've been in the, right, left lane. I've been in the passing lane. And this tractor trailer behind me obviously knew that, everybody's slowing down. Construction in the summertime on the highways, they cut off part of the lane and the lane switch and all that shit. And this dude really did not get over, and I had to swerve over. And I know that's a flaw in the matrix. I know it is. It is like saying, well, you don't really have this like you think you do, because but what was done made no sense for him to know I'm right there, and that Taurus ain't no little car. That's a fairly big sedan, and so. But it was funny looking at it glitch, looking at it, and almost like a test glitch. But it was like, that's all right. And I'll tell you what else I saw the other day. The other kind of glitches I see. Yeah, this made me think about this. Early today, I was noticing I saw no less than 10 trucks, all white. Different types of vehicles, but almost 10 trucks, all white. And I was like, wow, this is what is the chances on this? And then I kept seeing, as I'm moving and going through my little town and going out and hitting the highway, I just keep seeing these white trucks. And just trucks. It's like no cars, I'm just seeing trucks, even up before this incident. So the whole time this thing was glitching. I think I did something today that it didn't anticipate me doing, is the only thing I could guess. So, but that was my little kind of reality thing today. So, but look at if the thing glitches. Notice that this thing will make mistakes. That's the thing with this reality. And I have a couple people that obviously listen to me, starting to get it about how to really look at flat plane. I mean, that's what you got to call it. That's the really only way that you can get into it. That's why, as I said before, a lot of people that talk flat plane, they don't really get into it. They just telling you that this is it, but they can't even explain to you its existence and how it's used and what is the favor or what is the design of it being one or the other. So what is the design of it being flat plane or it being, it's not even circular, it's not even really the right word, because it could never be a perfect circle. Like, even if you look in the telescope on the planets, what you're not really seeing. Now let me edit myself. Sometimes the looking at all the planets and seeing them all have the same round thing makes you wonder. And then they try to tell you that the gases and everything make it round. That gives me a pause, though, because it wouldn't be perfect. It would be all different types. I mean, if you're saying that, like even the sun, you're saying that this is generated. It looks something more like a computer would generate the uniformity of all the planets and the sun and the moon. The uniformity of them all look more like something a computer would generate, just than source generating these planets. I mean, it's no way it would all be identical. You look up there and the moon is the same, right? I mean, it just doesn't work like that. If you're telling us this is a star, this star, we should be seeing this star doing motion. All we do, if really you do start doing sun gazing, you just really see it doing this. Once you get to seeing it, you really see it doing that. And we shouldn't. They telling you it's doing all this stuff, and the telescopes and the Hubble is catching it. But how is it that we're just seeing it? And the only way we really see is the mirage. The only time we really see it like it's moving is mirage. It really couldn't work like that. But I got chills right now. White Dodge truck by the handful and the Dodge Charger. I just got put gas and they pulled up on the gas station. I'm telling you. That's what I saw. No less than 10 white trucks. Damn. I'm not trying to send nobody, but I'm telling you, that's what I was seeing. I was moving around. I was like, this is like beyond normal, So the thing is making some type of mistake. Uh, I don't know how long I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for a minute tonight. Great show, Nick Taylor. Great show, great share. Yeah, great show and great share. Man, I find all that useful. Um, I watch a lot of his and Ciola's stuff, and I try to configure how would configure everything. So it's helpful. I don't think I don't know if a lot of people look at how helpful this information is, and that this information is free. I mean, Keep It Techie did a Lincoln, or no, he did a 3-hour tutorial this evening, right? Yeah, on how to use that system. So we have put together a community that really you can go to 6 or 7 cats and kind of get a really truer reality breakdown in a more I would say in a more, and it's not fair, balanced. Like you can go to 6 or 7 cats and get a balanced understanding of things instead of, as some people just put it all up and they just put in like we are against this and we've got to uplift us a little more by talking shit to them because society is raising them up here. You understand? And so, you have the feeling that inferior kind of thing instead of people just telling you useful shit that you can use. Now, being an elder, you do get experience. You do get experience. You start seeing these things, and then these things repeat themselves, which as time they do. I mean, what's so amazing is the people even look alike. I mean, that just gets me. I saw a younger version of a person I know. I was like, damn, that's what the younger version looked like. Because I knew the older version, cigarettes, liquor, shriveled up looking. And then I see this younger version, and I was like, wow, I forgot how that used to look. And names, I've said this before, names. It seems like this thing has almost run out of names. The only time you really saw a big swing in name change, and this is where, Nick and Slide make fun, but babies born in the 80s, because melanated people got sick and tired of Peter, John, Jim, James, William, and they started using Ebonics and putting words to and creating a new language. Technically, they created a new language for our people because they were tired of the Europeans, and they were tired of seeing, their children having these Europeans. And so I know we look at this and remember this was done pretty much before the crack hit. This was done before crack hit. So you had sisters that weren't very educated, but knew that we wanted our children to have a new language of names. And I don't think that gets any credit. I know a lot of melanated people make fun of that and say it's too many letters, but this was a language. And a lot of y'all missed that. And I know y'all make fun of that, but y'all missed this language that was put out there. And I know the European wants this to be made fun of because they don't want you to know that was a language created by our people. So, hey, Siova, there's another bad man too. He gives out the same great information. So, to just try to be solid and try to do the best you can do with what you're working with. That's all we can do. You do the best you can do with what you're working with. And they show all these different options, and they show the progressions. And that's more than fair for this kind of thing. That's good that you can have these blueprints that people care enough to say, okay, we want everyone on what you are working with and what you can afford. And this is, kind of to move it forward. And that's thoughtful. That's thoughtful. And coming from brothers, and brothers that listen to everybody. I'm not excluding anybody. but brothers that listen to everybody and try to get all the points of view of how to make the best you, the best information you put out there. So always glad when you come through. Yeah, yeah, always glad when you come through. Now I just started thinking. I ran into somebody that does a board for somebody, does sound, and plays pickleball with me, and I was just kind of messing with him. It was interesting, you know, some of the things I picked up from you and Nick. It was interesting when he started talking. I was kind of understanding some of it. I was like, wow. And then we have, they've been showing. We have one of the cartoon, or what do they call, the animation festivals. I saw another one today, so I think it's here. We're having, I think one of the girls for animation, this pop, one of the American voices. I think she lives here. I think they keep showing pictures of her, but Comic-Con or something coming in this area or something. So I've been seeing that lately. But and these are opportunities for young people that you can really go into these kind of fields. As I was saying, one thing that I wish I would have followed that I learned about was sports information director. I really wish I would have followed that or psychology, but really sports information director. Logistically, it prepares you to be a general manager. It really does. Because part of being a general manager is logistics, and it prepares you to step into a pro general manager job. It really does. Now, I would just say, if someone said, well, what about the personnel? When you're in that position, you work with the personnel and you see what works for you. And then you also, in that business, you see what doesn't work for you. Just like the same, you have to work with the president and, you know, all these department heads. And you can have your own choices where, like, hey, I fit right here, I don't. But that's one of the few professions that do prepare people for that kind, for general managers in the NFL. But again, we are not pushed into thinking alternatives. We are thinking that, you know, that's the end. Just the game is the end, and it's not really. It's just the opening, and no matter how far it can take you. And the same with just general relationships, as you work and create relationships in and out of work. Through these relationships, you never know where they can lead you to. And sports is a way where you meet. I mean, what's funny, when I would take my son Ruffin with me when he was like 12, 13, we would go Fort Wayne. Somebody just recently talked shit about Fort Wayne. Was a slide that talked shit about Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne is kind of fun. It's actually kind of fun. But Fort Wayne, Notre Dame, Chicago, Milwaukee. I mean, we would go to all these places, and he would be surprised. There would be, everywhere we went, I would know people, and like not just one person. I'd have people just like stopping me, tapping me on my shoulder. Again, I'm from the Midwest. You know, people tapping me on my shoulders, you know, hey, talking to me. And my son was like, how many people do you really know? And it's, you know, you just meet, as you meet teams, you meet a ton of people. You meet a ton of people. I had some of my ex-players rough with me. I'm like, hey, can you fill in for me? Yeah, I can be there. Some of my ex-players. So relationship. Hey, Chiefs, Steph is overrated. Oh, yeah. Steph is overrated, I guess. I was watching Scottie Pippen's son tonight. He looked okay. Looks like they're going to give him a chance. We'll see. We'll see if they'll keep him up. Still can't believe that the Lakers are keeping Westbrook. That's what it appears like. Appears like they're keeping him. I mean, who's going to turn? Hey, Key, who's going to turn down $47 million? I know Irving turned down $43 million, but he was told to turn that down. He ain't going to make more than that. He ain't going to make more than that. But so that was kind of silly. And then they did the video of did y'all see the video of E.T., what's his name, Sam Cassell, talking shit to James Harden? That's what he needs. Because we all know James Harden would play lazy. He would really play lazy. Even them years where he was scoring, That's why him and Kevin McHale didn't get along. McHale broke down one video and was showing James. He's like, yeah, James, you got 40 points, but look at all these defense breakdowns. And that's why they end up firing Kevin. Kevin was like, and yelling at him in prep, what the fuck is you doing? You just score, you don't run back. And then James, with the leverage and the money, just bucking back, as they say it, And they end up getting rid of Kevin. But Kevin was trying to say, hey, this dude is, one-sided. He ain't putting in the right work. So that was interesting to see that. You don't see NBA players, but so got to see Chet Holmgren. I forgot to mention that. Chet, y'all already knew. Chet is going to be a problem, especially on defense. He's really going to be a problem on defense. James Harden taps all the way out of the game. Oh, yeah. As I caught it again, I think you're going to have to look back at my videos from 20 maybe, or maybe early 21. You'll see where I showed a Ginobili play where Harden, it's the series to go to the finals, and Harden's desperate shot gets blocked by Ginobili. And just as he steps away to get away from people, he kind of takes some steps to get near him. As I've shown, dudes can shoot. Perfect example. My daughter's age, 5th and 6th grade girls, some of the girls shoot from their stomachs, really. They'll push from here, because they're not strong enough to keep it up here. They kind of need all this, But it's easy to block their shots. It's easier to block their shots. And really, if you look at it, they shoot the ball in the player's hand and put their hand up. Because just from them coming from here, they come from their stomachs and right into the defender. And we see the NBA doing that same kind of shit. You see how I'm saying how girls don't really try to do it. It's just they're not strong enough. Or what my daughter figured out is my daughter's like, wait a minute, I can just shoot high. That's what she figured out. She's like, I'll just shoot over everybody's hand and just shoot high. And she's picked up what older girls hadn't picked up, that she can shoot high. So we see. They're not planning on getting rid of Davis. You know who I wish the Timberwolves would have picked up? Ayton. That would have made more sense for the modern game. If they would have picked up Ayton, because Rudy is too slow. The problem, and it's a way to get rid of him, but the game gets too slow when you got him in there. You are too slow. You are as far as the quickening of the game, you playing 4-on-5, because he is really, especially offensively, he is just going. If the lane, if everybody's so spread out and he can't camp in the middle, because again, it's defensive 3 seconds because they can play zone. He has to guard. He has to come back out. Then he's good around the basket. He's not good 5-6 feet out. He ain't that good. I would even say he's not even a great pick and roll player. Not really great. So that's who I would have went if they wanted to throw. But I'll say this, all their picks have been bad luck except Towns and Edwards. Edwards, what? The first time they ever got the number 1 overall pick, or maybe Wiggins. But Wiggins wasn't even the first pick. No, I don't think Wiggins was the first pick in the draft. Edwards, I think, was their first pick. And they were right on him. I mean, they were right. Yeah, Timberwolves definitely, Chet is going to get worked over for a few years. His calling might be high as Jaren Jackson. His ceiling, I think he's better than Jackson. Jackson don't have the handles. Jackson can't bring it up. They lost their minds. Wiggins was Cleveland's pick. Yeah, that's right. He was Cleveland's pick. Yeah, that's right. For the Kevin Love. Yeah. No, he went number overall, but for Cleveland. And I even see that as a mistake, too. He needed a wing player like that. With Irving. So I just don't understand. Now, when they were saying they was trying to trade for KD, I saw that. Okay, if you want to do Gobert, and they ain't really got hardly nothing left. If you want to do Gobert for KD and maybe some, and it wouldn't even work because no draft picks. They gave them all away to Utah. But I was about to say is they've had bad draft picks overall. I mean, if you look at the history of the Timberwolves, there's some, you know, the years they screwed them when they had the worst the worst record, and was drafted, you know, picked in the lottery 10th, 11th. Like one time they were like almost the 14th. They were the worst team in the league, but yet they got the 14th pick in the lottery. That tells you how it is. The NBA is not about parity. It never has been. The only time you saw parity in the NBA was really when it started. But if you look through the Celtics years, you had dynasty. You look at the Lakers. Really, Lakers had a bigger dynasty with Magic than Larry Bird. It was only 3 years of Larry Bird. But Celtics went, you know, when Dave Collins was at 76, Dave Collins and them won. So they've always tried to keep the Celtics in there. So, and now we have gold. Well, we know the Michael Jordan, you know, the 3-3. Yes, she's here. Of course, you've seen her several times, but they, you know, there's no such thing as parity in the NBA. They don't want that. Now I know the NFL used to scream that, especially when Rozelle was the commissioner. He was always screaming parity. That's why the worst teams got the top picks. But a lot of times that, you know, didn't. In some instances, it did help the teams. Some instances didn't. Yep. Cheese guy. Oh, that's funny. I don't know. I don't know about AC Green. I don't know. Lakers need young players, not old geezers. Yeah. What did they say on Carmelo? He was the only one. I mean, he's under contract, but the guaranteed date is coming up because they already said Bledsoe. The Bledsoe. Which Bledsoe? One of the Bledsoes is getting cut, waived, well, before the guarantee. So, you know, once the official NBA starts, the players are locked in. They get the guarantee money. So they'll waive him, and they won't have to pay him that. Well, they'll have to pay him a smaller amount, but they won't have to pay him his salary. So just waiving whatever owed money is to him. That's really all they're owing. Whatever's owed money to him. But they won't be responsible for the rest of it. So, yeah, they need young players. Didn't really see. They got rid of the young dude they used to show, McGurdy. He played at Georgetown. Some reason didn't work out in Georgetown. Then he went to Texas Tech. Yeah, then he went to Texas Tech. He was in the G League for the Lakers last summer. Tonight, he was with the Sixers, maybe? Who played the first game, or the middle game of the summer league? But yeah, Chet is going to give people some problems because he can bring the ball up. And when people come around it, he can handle. And because of his tougher defensive rebounder stance, he has a toughness Porzingis doesn't have. He has, because of his ball handling skill, he's already ahead of Dirk Nowitzki because of his ball handling skill. And then the ability to be a key shot blocker in this modern game. So, as I was saying about Rudy is tall, but Rudy is limited. Chet ain't limited. Chet can grab it and go all the way and be a threat in or out. So he's going to be a problem, and really a problem on defense that people aren't going to realize. He is going to be a problem on defense, and the way you can zone up now, it's going to be he's going to change some of the team's attack, because again, he's going to be able to sit out there most big dudes and be in their face and block their shit if they try to go up. That's where he's going to probably change the game. All these big dudes that just sit out there and think they can shoot. With somebody like Chet that can stay with him, it's going to be harder for big dudes to shoot over him because nobody that size really puts the effort in defense, especially the three-point shot big dudes. So I think he'll give them some problems. You agree on letting? Oh, yeah. They're not going to let him go, though. They got to pay him. Well, again, they got to pay him the league. Once the league goes into the first business, we got a while. I read that earlier. Please, I forgot what it is now. But it's coming up. It's coming up in the next few weeks. What? So, yeah, they're not going. He got like 8 blocks. Yeah, I'm telling you, he's going to be a problem on defense. That is going to be more of his impact than any other his defense. Huh?
Chet Holmgren?
Yeah.
No.
He hooped out the other night.
Yeah, no, I watched it, but like you see that nigga get Lil Boyd, they was him, they was backing the shit out of him. And like his handles, he dribbles way too high, he dribbles too slow. But like possession wise, kind of like Dirk. Like think about like Dirk, but like not as hefty. You feel me? Because like them little what you see the little mid range fades he was doing, he was unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And from the three, he gets to the spot, but his jumper's slow. His dribbles are slow. He's too small.
I mean, weight wise, yeah, he needs to fill out.
He was getting backed down by niggas who was like 6'8".
But I mean, he's got to have to adapt to playing against men.
But if he bulks,
bigger size, yeah.
So like if he bulks, he's losing speed and dribbling.
I don't think so.
I feel like he.
I don't think so. You didn't see Durant or even Magic?
What are you talking about?
Durant or Magic? Durant's like just slightly shorter than him. So Durant didn't really lose anything bulking up, and Durant was probably more scrawnier than Chet.
Look at Chet's first game versus Durant's. When Durant did that preseason game,
yeah,
that nigga dropped like 20-some points. That nigga went crazy. And he wasn't getting babied or nothing.
But he plays more of a four that's a scorer for.
But Chet was playing scorer for like the whole game.
He's playing mostly fives.
They literally was giving him the ball. He was taking the ball up court. He was catching rebounds and taking the ball up court.
Yeah.
He was playing the one and the big.
Yeah, a little bit of it. But it's summer league too. That is summer league too. So
you saw what KD did against them niggas, LeBron and all them. Like you saw what he did against them.
Yeah, I did.
But Chet more like a soft ass Dirk.
Yeah, he got ate up by that chunky kid Lofton.
Yeah, that nigga like 6'8", he's just doom, hook.
Shit, he ain't gonna get every shot. I'm just saying he gonna make it difficult.
He got back down like 7. No, he's not making it difficult.
But again, you look at the type of dudes. He's gonna be matched up with more 6'9", 6'10" dudes.
Yeah, and
however, but he's even them dudes backing him down.
He's doing
now,
nothing on defense.
He is going to learn how to use his footwork, lose leverage. And he already has some of the best timing to be the best shot blocker ever, as far as timing. Like really,
that nigga will get back down by Al Horford.
Bill Russell timing, Will Chamberlain timing of blocking shots, and the motherfucker can jump pretty high too. He can jump high too.
That was disrespectful. Will Chamberlain got a 46 to 48 inch vertical.
Shit, that one dude did that film. They showed the film of Wilt. Wilt went up to block a shot.
46 to 48 inch vertical.
They filmed it and they measured in the film. He went 50 inches to block this shot. They got a film of Wilt where he went up 50 inches to block this shot.
That nigga Will Chamberlain ran a 4.6 with a 46 to 48 inch vertical at 7'1".
What did he run a quarter in? He ran the quarter mile in like a great time for a person back then.
4.6, I know that for a fact.
So
yeah, so like Chet ain't no Will.
Did Durant go to the Knicks, or is that a rumor? I didn't hear that tonight, and they
were trying to trade.
Oh, sign and trade.
Who were they trying to trade for KD? I forgot.
Oh, they got his Randall.
It was somebody.
Well, they got the guard from Duke. Oh. They got the guard from Duke too.
They was talking about they was trying to trade them young niggas for KD on the Warriors or something. I was hearing something about that.
Yeah, that's dead. They pretty much killed.
They're not doing that shit. I don't know.
I don't think they plus they don't have a salary cap to pay him, and he's not gonna take that big a cut. They can't pay him. They done paid the 3, so they can't pay him. So he ain't going there.
What's that dude that played against Hakeem Olajuwon when Hakeem Olajuwon did really, really good that year where he averaged 30 points? And there was that other big who was real athletic, like
Dave Robertson?
Yeah.
David Robertson.
Chet Holmgren not even know David Robinson athletic. He's just like
no, get out of here. Get out of here. David Robertson athletic. Get out of here. Yo, go one way, David Robertson.
You know how fast David Robinson was jumping up?
Man, David Robinson, left hand only. Go watch his films. He's the one way only dude.
Only person to stop that nigga was Hakeem. And that was prime Hakeem.
Okay, what about Shaq?
Okay, that's Shaq though. That's Shaq. And listen, Hakeem is the only person to be the only all-star on the team and win an MVP. Yup. Or not MVP, but win the finals.
I don't know about that. Drexler.
Clyde?
Drexler was all-star, and Drexler was probably still all-pro.
Was he the only one on the team?
Are you saying the first time? The first time he got it?
No, I'm saying Hakeem Olajuwon was the only all-star on the
first
team.
time.
Yeah.
The first championship. Yeah, okay. Yeah. The first time. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well.
You don't want.
Hmm.
And like that's the person you put against David Robinson, but David Robinson was crazy athletic. The way that nigga would get up stationary, just like quickness. Go watch it. Go rewatch it.
I was more impressed. I was more impressed with Tim Duncan. Shit, them finals where Tim Duncan just torched. Tim Duncan like just embarrassed Garnett. He embarrassed him here. He embarrassed him in San Antonio. And then they went to the lake. And I mean, like Garnett was talking shit during the game. And Tim Duncan just gave him that work.
Yeah, Tim Duncan's top 10 big.
He gave him that work. And then they went and played Shaq and him. And I mean, he was the only player that really on defense made Shaq look worthless.
Top 10 bigs?
Made him look worthless.
Top 10 bigs I'm doing. Kareem, Wilt, Shaq, Hakeem.
And I tell you, what Tim Duncan had is what a lot of people don't understand about energy and how you move your energy. Tim Duncan is the player that used the less energy to do the most. And very few people, yes, very efficient in everything he did. He never, like you never saw him doing the crazy head fakes. Everything was pretty much like you almost got the point where you see players like they ain't trying because it was so easy for him. But he just never wasted a lot of motion. So, hey, James, how you doing, man? How you doing? Tim Duncan. Yeah, definitely Tim Duncan over David Robertson. Definitely. I know what he talking about. He talking about NBA game. Hey, Valerie. Oh, yeah, Tim Duncan putting in that work. I mean, well, he did that like 2 years in a row. He did that too. But that 1 year, I mean, it was so highly contested about him and Garnett being in the semis. It was just, that was everything. And I mean, Garnett tore the league up. But yeah, it was too much Tim Duncan. It was way too much Tim Duncan. He put it on him. So, oh yeah, definitely get the job done. But yeah, Brother James, what's happening, man? Thank you for joining. How long we been going? I'm not feeling the story yet. But yeah, Tim. So I again, we know if Michael Jordan wouldn't have been suspended, they would have won them 2-2. Like that's why I didn't get when he was talking about his little Michael Jordan Love Me, Michael Jordan series, Michael Jordan Love Me series. They was talking about, they didn't go years after, but he didn't really talk about them 2 years that he was suspended. And we all know he was suspended for gambling. Come on. We already know. We saw the story. The story's there. The story's there. And why didn't he fight? How they let Jordan play with the flu. He ain't had a flu. When you hear too much lying, so they finally came up with a story and said that Michael wouldn't let nobody else eat the pizza. The people who made the pizza now. The other story was that Michael had got fucked up. He was gambling and got all fucked up. That was the other story. That Michael had got fucked up and went in that motherfucker hung over. Now, maybe he could have got drugged. It's not hard to drug a motherfucker. Motherfucker ain't really paying attention. It ain't hard. Especially years ago. Put up 55. Do you think if Kawhi really wanted to be that guy after Duncan, or he caved under pressure? I think I think Kawhi stopped trusting. I know it's a delay, but I think Kawhi Leonard stopped trusting the organization. I think he really did. He really stopped trusting organization because they pampered Duncan and they pampered Parker and they pampered Ginobili. And Kawhi always knew from day one he was better than Ginobili. Now, I will say this. Tony Parker couldn't play in today's NBA. He really couldn't. Couldn't play in today's NBA. Speed player that's looking to, go to the basket mostly. I don't see where he would really fit in. Especially the scouting now. Everybody, bigger dudes can stay with you. I don't think, because of the three-point shooting, I don't think he fits in. And he's definitely going to be a liability on defense. I always looked at that with him. And, like we saw Cleveland go, we saw LeBron and them going at Steph. Finally. You ain't see teams going at going to Tony Parker? When did Cleveland ever go at Tony Parker? When did Miami ever go? When did anybody ever go at Tony Parker? They didn't. They hit him. So I just think he stopped trusting. I think he just stopped trusting food poisoning. Yeah, which was bullshit too. Okay, let me tell you the first story I heard. I got a book. I think I got a copy of the big book. Actually, my son was a baby and he spilled some shit on my. But I had a big book of Jordan, and let me get this right. Okay. So he said he had the flu. He said he drank. What is this shit called? I don't know if y'all remember this shit. And this goes again. The Gatorade was originally made was powder, and you had to put water, and you had to stir that shit up. That's how they started with this shit. But there was, and this shit is illegal now, I think. You know, I used to get well, no, that shit must not be illegal. But used to get pure caffeine. I don't know if y'all remember that. You could just get pure caffeine. But I mentioned that because there was another drink that Gatorade made. Trying to think of the name of it. But this dehydrates the shit out you. It is a coffee-like thing that instead of building the electrolytes, it kind of would do the opposite. So they said he drank that. He drank, the closest I can describe it is a coffee-like energy drink. I guess like a power drink today, we'd be looking at it. But back then, it would take away from your electrolytes, this kind of shit. I remember, but this was the story. And he said that's what and nothing about food poisoning. But he said Dad drinking that shit because he said he had the flu. That's where the flu game come from. And then they start making all these other stories up, and then the one story come out. This nigga came in there hungover. Very, very likely. Very likely. James Slyn Beauvillier. Have you heard of him? Is that the young kid playing in France? He put it on Chet too. And he was only a sophomore, and Chet was a senior. That was the only dude in high school Chet really stayed with him. Really stayed with him. I think that's what you're talking about. Allegedly. Well, thank Divine Networking Solutions. That is so kind. Thank you so much. Hey, Chiefs. Ginobili, boo on Ginobili. Tell me what my family members call it. They all, I don't know, ATF. That's very strange. Ginobili. Red Bull. No, it's Perrier. Perrier. That was what originally came. I think that's what this shit was called. It was Gatorade, and I think this shit was called Perrier. I think. But it was in the book that he drank this shit, and he said having the flu, he drank that shit, and it was more like a coffee drink. You know, coffee makes you pee, so it does dehydrate you. And that was the story. It wasn't nothing about food poisoning. It was like he was sick, had the flu sick, and he drank the wrong drink. So you see how they change it. So when you start seeing all these stories change, I think the nigga was hung over and went to the game or drugged. You have to consider that too. Because it's thousands of stories of dudes boxing their own people, you know, slip them some shit during the fight. Most of the time, they know, you know. That shit, you look at Ali and Foreman. That was easy. That was like Ali and Foreman was like Hulk Hogan and Andre. When Hulk said, when Hulk was like, man, what are we going to do? You know, I can't do nothing with you. And Andre was like, well, try to pick me up and slap me. That's what Ali Foreman was. Well, what can you do to make me tired? Make it look good, though. Do they regret? Oh, she said, do they regret? Yeah, asking OTF, do they regret it? Jordan had Gatorade, had crazy Gatorade. Yeah, be like Mike. But I'm saying I think it was called Perrier. It was Perrier. I want to say it was an energy drink. Technically, it was energy drink. You didn't see this stuff though. You didn't really. I don't even think you could buy that stuff then in the 80s or early 90s. Like that was ordered. Yeah, them kind of drinks wasn't. Trying to think who would sell that shit back then. But we had that shit when I played, and I was, you know, going to these different teams. We had that shit. I saw that shit around too. It was energy drinks back then. Yeah, and that's kind of thing. So Hulk Hogan was overrated. Tony Parker was busy smashing. Yeah, that scene, you know, kind of they put that in there. That soap opera shit that ain't gonna never go away. Kenny Lofton Jr. been balling for Memphis. Okay, Kenny Lofton Jr. Okay, I watched him play a little bit too. Yeah, he did nice. Yeah, I watched Kenny James. Thank you for joining. Now I'll say this too. Um, uh, I was kind of raised, and my brother very much so too. I would even say me because I'm older, you know. So like 5, 6 years of having the time with the people I'm about to mention. But um, I was raised where my aunt's husband was like really blood, and like all his family became like truly extended family in every means, every way. Like I knew his mother, I knew my uncle's mother, all his brothers, sisters, all the brothers that were still alive. Um, I tell the story of a family member that fought in Vietnam. That was the only dude that survived the overrun. And I've shared that story. Maybe we'll do it again, one experience. Maybe I can put it to everybody what we face. But uh, one of my uncle's sisters married this guy. Walter Ward Sr. was his name. Married Shirley. Shirley, she was a Harrison. And so all his brothers that I knew, his stepfather, knew him. You know, they had a farm. We used to run around the farm and shit. And I just say that, you know, not to really, you know, but like I spent a lot of time with my aunt at my aunt's house, and I've spent a lot of time with my uncle, and I spent a lot of time with his family. I guess that's my point. Like a lot of time. Like he had nieces and nephews that was my age. We graduated together, and we went up, you know, from little. We knew nothing, but we was family. And so one of my cousins is named Dino. Dino's father died tonight. He was the last of the brothers. It was Doris, Eddie, Calvin, Leroy, Willie. No, it would have been Buddy, and then Willie. So 7 brothers. The final brother died in his 80s. So, um, all-state basketball player. You know, everybody in the family hooped. All-state basketball player, but because of the times, didn't get recruited. But apparently, went to Western Michigan University and graduated, which I just found out. I did not know this. And then went in the Air Force during early Vietnam. Came out. Now, I'll mention he's a Mason, not really practicing, but got up to 32nd degree. But lived across, like when our families moved. I grew up on the west side of Kalamazoo, which is going more towards like Chicago, to give you direction. Like, you know, that's you know, the West End. Going towards the east, you'd be going to Detroit, if you understand. And you know, as the families, he bought a house across from us. And so, you know, we was going over there. My cousin, you know, my cousin Dino was a few years older than me, but we lived over there. We was always kicking it. He'd be called over there, and I was one of the few because they were kind of they had a nice house. It just they were both quiet. Him and his wife. I said her name earlier, Ivy. Yeah. So, you know, I reflect and just to see that whole generation disappear. Well, 2 aunts are left. 2 aunts are left. Cookie, Shirley, they're both left. And when you make it to 60, that's what you see. You start seeing whole generations get wiped out. It's just life. And the sadness that breaks your heart, just like I talked about last night, you know, losing a cousin too. Because this would have been my young cousin's great uncle, like great uncle, really. My young cousin I talked about. This guy would have been his great uncle. this is. Somebody came in. I heard him. Kenny Lofton and Dominic Wilkins didn't get the credit he deserved. I don't know. It's like they didn't put him and give him the help that Jordan ended up getting. They never gave him a Scottie Pippen. And remember, the coach, the center, what was his name? Kovac. Remember they gave Kovac when they started giving people all that money? They gave this junk dude damn near more, gave him more money than they gave Dominique. Remember that? Kovac, that was his name. It put it on Sports Illustrated and everything. Kovac got more money than Dominique. And Kovac was no equal to Jordan Scottie Pippen. No equal. So I'll say that. And he got a Tree Rollins. Trying to think. Doc was there for a minute. I'll tell you want to see great hooping. Watch that playoff series between him and Larry Bird, where I think Dominic had 50-something, but so did Larry Bird. Watch that playoff. As I said, you want to see real Larry Bird. Watch that playoff where he go against Dominique. But I'll say the coldest game, I'm telling you, watch DePaul play Larry Bird, Indiana State. Watch that game. That game better than the finals against him and Matt. He hooped on them motherfuckers. He hooped on niggas that could hoop. That's still, to me, one of the top games of that I ever watched. And I watched it on TV, but that shit, that Larry Bird, I was sold. Well, I was sold before, but I was like, that shit was like, damn. I mean, I knew how good them brothers could hoop. And, it's all scripted, but the script looked good. It really looked good. Chet looked frail like he auditioned for one of those Save the Children. Now, Chet looked like he could eat about 15 Whoppers. Get out of here. Get out of here, fella. You can eat 15 Whoppers easy. You remember how they used to do it, Wimpy? And Wimpy was the one to say, I'll gladly pay you next Tuesday for a Whopper today. Remember, they would pile all of them up? Chet eat them up. Telling you, Chet is going to be all right. They held him. They played 2 games. He didn't play the 3rd game. They didn't show him tonight. They didn't play tonight. Jordan had a dream team. Yeah, he did. I mean, just the pieces they put around him. The pieces they put around him. I mean, it was a big deal. The difference when they brought Bill Cartwright. I don't think people really realize that difference. Bringing Bill Cartwright in made a real big difference. It helped because before that they had Dave Corzine in there. I don't know if y'all remember. He was the DePaul dude, Dave Corzine. And when they brought Bill in there, and Bill played with Quentin Daly. Remember, Quentin Daly started at the Bulls. Quentin Daly was accused of rape out in California at San Francisco University. I don't know if y'all remember that. These niggas was still hooping. Motherfuckers was out protesting against him and shit. They was protesting, like, you got a rapist in there hooping. But when they brought Bill Cartwright in, that helped a lot. That helped a lot. That put them closer. Because at the time, they was going to have to deal with Robert Parrish, the way the game was set up. And that helped them deal with that. And a true rim deterrent. And a dude that's a big that could also score. So that's why when they got Luke Longley, that was a good pickup too. They didn't really lose a step. Yeah, John Koncak. Yeah, John Koncak. Yeah, that's his name, John Koncak. They gave him more money. Matter of fact, he got at one point, I think he got more money than anybody. He got the biggest contract at one point, but more than they paid Dominique. So Larry Bird was cold. No, Larry Bird ain't overrated. Not at all. Larry Bird, as I said, is sad. His story is sad because I'm pretty sure he went in the league 24, 25 years old. The transferring killed him. Transferring back then, you had to sit out a year. And so when Larry Bird went in the league, he had to be at least 24. And so you look at his age, 5 years was all really his run. Where if he would have been able to come out, you know, after his sophomore year, or he back then even, I think he came out his freshman year, he would have hooped in Indiana. Because I want to say, yeah, he didn't come out to that 5th year. Yeah. Larry Bird didn't come out to that 5th year. So that hurt him too. That really hurt him. And you can see his production going down after 5 years. And, you know, stupid, cheap. But Bird met most of his prime at half speed because of back problems. Now, them first 5 years before his back, you know, and what he did is, I've said this before, Larry Bird was cheap. And so Larry Bird tried to lay some concrete, you know, he tried to lay concrete to his mom's property. And he did it himself and ended up hurting his back. And it's a lot being on a tractor, and, you know, when you're sitting on that tractor, you're doing a lot of this. And if you're lifting and stuff too, I mean, it's busy work. I mean, it's real busy work, you know, grading the road out. That's not easy work. That's back and forth, you know, pushing it back. I mean, Nick Taylor knows, grading the road out. You know, I work for the water department, so I watched the street department put roads in and driveways. I saw all that shit. I mean, quick like. City didn't fuck around. And hey, if it wasn't the city, them contractors is like, hey, where you motherfuckers at? If we done, we need you motherfuckers over. The contractors be right over there in whatever part they had in it. So cheap, hurt his back. I mean, Kevin McHale, if Len Bias doesn't die, Kevin McHale doesn't really have to play with a destroyed ankle. I mean, that's a real reality. That's a real reality. Kevin McHale can rest. So could Larry Bird. It was only going to be about a season where Len Bias had to watch. But yeah, as them cats got older, and if they was able to get D Brown and get Reggie Lewis, if that progression was still going to happen, that would have gave him more guns. Reggie Lewis was really a tall two. But Bias would have fit in. He had the body to play easy a 4. He taking advantage of 3s. But yeah, he got hurt, young Weezer. Bill Walton a hater. Oh yeah, Bill Walton is the worst hater. You know, that dude used to stutter. When they would interview him in college, he still kind of stuttered. He had to take all, you know, he up there at acting land. He had to take all kind of stuff because he stuttered and shit. Look at his college interviews. Because they thought like he was Kareem and aloof, as they want to call it, but he had a stuttering problem. The funniest, I don't know if you could even find this shit, but this shit is it's funny. Look up Lester Hayes after I want to say after my Raiders beat Philadelphia. Yeah, I don't think it was when they beat the Vikings. I want to say it was the second one. But they was like, you know, the commentators like, hey, Lester. And they put the shit to Lester, and Lester was like, blah, blah. You know, he got that hard, stutter. And they didn't stop him or nothing. They just let him stammer and stutter. I was like, that shit was kind of funny. And the second funniest was Billy. I just talked about this dude. He played with Georgetown. I saw him play in high school. Not Billy Martin. That was his teammate. Billy Williams. Yeah, Billy Williams, the basketball player, not the baseball player. Billy Packard was like, well, Billy, what do you think? He was like, well, we was doing good, but damn. You talking about the moment hitting the motherfucker. The moment hitting, he was like talking, and the moment hitting, he was like, damn. That shit was funny too. You see Billy Williams, he's like, I'll do it, like, damn. Because he's looking at all the cameras and they interviewed him. And that's funny too. But Lester is funny. That shit was funny. We was cracking up. I don't remember who I was with, but that shit is funny. No, let's tell the whole story. Fred Biletnikoff used that shit just as much as Lester Hayes. Look up a picture of Fred Biletnikoff. Same period. I got all of them on whatever the picture thing is, Pinterest, whatever. Yeah. Look up Fred Biletnikoff. It wasn't just him. Quarterbacks was the ones complaining. That shit was around when I played. They had the spray too. You play basketball, they'd let you spray the liquid on your hands. The liquid ain't as sticky. I think some of it was kind of overhyped because you didn't really need a whole lot. Really, it was used kind of for rainy and snowy days. That's why they started letting people use it. So, but the quarterbacks didn't like it because it would make it sticky in their hands, you know, and they was too lazy to keep changing the balls off. But that's who didn't like it. The quarterbacks didn't like that shit because that shit stuck on the ball. And so you really couldn't wipe the balls down. If you understand, like wiping the ball down quickly might smear it and make it smooth. Do you understand? Make it less grip. So, but the quarterbacks didn't like all that grip. The quarterbacks wanted to feel it. So that's why it got bonded, or because it stuck so much on the quarterbacks. Shit, they still use that shit. Check this out. If y'all should know, they use the shit on their jerseys. They spray the sticky shit on their jerseys. We was doing that shit, spraying that sticky, tacky shit on the jerseys, so they can't grab your jersey. That shit will stick to the pads. Now with the underarm shit, that shit sticks to all that stuff. They spray their jerseys with that sticky shit. That stick to the stuff. But Lester Hayes was the first one. It's a dude named Johnny Sample. Look him up. He had a great. Oh, you talking about a great football book? Confession of a Dirty Player by Johnny Sample. Johnny Sample. I want to say Johnny Sample went to Morgan State. I could be wrong. I want to say Johnny Sample went to Morgan State with my friend, one, but Leroy Kelly, too. But I could be wrong. But anyway, he ended up playing with Baltimore. Won a championship in 58 or 59 in Baltimore. Later got cut. The coach that won the championship, I think won 2 championships, got cut, ended up going to, Baltimore. Both of them got, Johnny got cut. The coach got fired. They both end up with the Jets. And he wins the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, he gets an interception. But read his book. I mean, you're talking about, and this is how I knew I played. When I played football, now y'all want to hear how football used to be played. When I was little, let's say 5th grade, through my whole career, you could slap somebody upside the head. When they showed me that shit, I would dominate boys. You could literally just slap a player upside his head. This was a very common move back then. And my whole career was never outlawed. That shit was outlawed much later. But you could just, your first step, give a person a concussion by just pow in his head. Do you understand? This is how the game used to be played. This is how it was taught. Linemen had to pretty much block like this. Look at old pictures. This is how unfair it used to be. You can slap a dude upside the head. You can throw him from one side to the other, but he got to do like this. All he can do like this. Anything out there would be holding, and later they let you lock your arms, which made it more fair. Later you could finally lock your arms out. And that's how you block today. You lock your arms out into somebody. You pretty much punch a person. I mean, that's the first contact they teach both sides. You punch each other. That's the technique. You punch somebody. I mean, you jar them back. But going back to Johnny Sample, football used to be where you could just hit a person the whole time. Now, once the ball was in the air, you kind of had to let go. But up to that point, you could do a thing called bump and run, where you could literally hit a person. And there's people that could do this. There's people that could run fast as they could, but could push on you. Or fast as you could, and you trying to get away from them, and the whole time you're trying to get away, they running with you, pushing you. You know how hard that is to get off? Not just, come off the line and have to, shouldering, but, juking. But then when he gets near you, he can start pushing you up to the point the ball's released. That's how old football used to be. And Johnny Sample was bad. Look at his film. I think NFL Films did a thing on just him. But the book is excellent. Look up Dick Night Train Lane. I had an autographed picture of him for years. He invented the where you could rope tie a dude, neck tie a dude. Watch his games. The only dude got 14 interceptions in the season. But watch how he tackled dudes. They would come across the middle and he would and it was legal. That's what kind of was done to Frank Gifford. Dude got him. When a dude gets hit and your head and your feet are prone, you get hit in the football where you get such a hit where it makes you jump, you fly in the air, but when you fly in the air, your feet is even with your head. Do you know how hard a hit that is? When your feet come in the air, you're off your feet are in the air where do you know that feeling where you landed and your whole body's going to just boom on the ground? That ain't fun. That is not fun. One of my drill sergeants was being cheap when installing his own deck and chopped off 2 of his fingers. They couldn't be reattached. You know, it's funny. My daughter's uncle, same thing, and they was able to reattach him. Let me stay on this story. I had a dude that substitute teach shop. He was a substitute shop teacher, bigger guy, and he told us the story where this dude actually cut his hand off. This dude cut his whole hand off, and this had to be in the 70s. This had to be like, I think I was in 7th or 8th grade, so this shit was 74 or 75. And whoever was around him, they stopped the shit from bleeding. They tied, or I think he even tied the shit off himself. I think he said he put his hand in ice and took it to the hospital, and they reattached it. And then the rest of the class, this motherfucker was trying to get us with that motherfucker, he was trying to get us with that motherfucker. So he disappeared. We had to put it on him. Like, told the story. As soon as he told the story, the hands started just coming at us and shit. Damn. Man, we got out the next class, kind of like, y'all don't want to go up in there with that crazy motherfucker. Let me see. When I played baseball in high school and college, I used to smear pine tar all over my bat handle and helmet. I understood my batters could use it for grip, but pitchers can't. That's a good point. It's a good point. I'm gonna tell you, but let's. What's interesting? Negro leagues never really got rid of that. A lot of the spitballs, a lot of that kind of stuff. The Negro league, some of them games, because some of the games, I mean, what you have to understand is some of the games will be held at what we would look at as just a little league park. And people would, they'd have a little stands and people would just be filling it. Or, they'd come into a town that had just, at the park, had a baseball field where everybody in the town used it. They played on these types of fields too. And so a lot of that stuff was allowed. A lot of these games, was allowed. The dude still dominated in that kind of society. So, batters still ain't batting the shit out of it. But yeah, that never made sense. Like, they still do the silly thing. Like sports, everybody knows rigged, but now you showing that it ain't rigged. Now you showing they're supposed to be cheaters. Sherry Lita, that is so nice of you. Clothesline tackle watch Dick Nitrain Lane. Like, watch him because I want to say he's with did he play with LA or Cleveland? I want to say, I don't remember. I want to say LA though. He was in the early 50s, so maybe LA by then. But yeah, watch him play when he's with the Rams. I don't know if it's LA Rams or Cleveland Rams. It's one of the Rams. You see him. He big. He a big dude too. And but they got damn near all his 14 interceptions. I mean, he was a dog. Like Lynn Barney played with the Lions. Lynn Barney was one of the cats that I saw that was big, like 6'4", 6'5". It could run with anybody. I mean, he was that big, that was again bump and run. But big guy like that could run with anybody. Yeah. He was another guy, them old Lions. Nick Taylor would know about all the old Lions. I wonder who his old favorite Lion was. But Lions was never my favorite team, or the Pistons. I could say probably the Red Wings, though. Yeah, definitely the Red Wings. Yeah. I never liked any other hockey team but the Red Wings until I moved here. Tigers, little bit Tiger fan. Little bit of Tiger fan, I'll say. I love the Yankees because I've said it before. I love Mickey Mantle when I was little. Like, really little, I love Mickey Mantle. He could bat left-handed, right-handed, had a gun. Quick. Used to love him. United Drills, what's happening? Thank you for joining. So, all these old-time dudes is old. But that's just what happens, and we move on. Once you learn not to fear this thing, like I talk about one of my other cousins when he was really saying goodbye to me, and I didn't read it. Not until I look back later, but he had solved it. He's like, I'm not scared anymore. You know, that death doesn't scare me. And when you come to that realization that it don't scare you, that you could walk into it, and you know, he just quit the medication and stuff. He had to have oxygen, and he knew, once he stopped taking that stuff, what would happen to him. But when you don't fear it, it's easier to walk into. So Kobe recorded a rap album in '99 and got leaked like last year. Should have stayed in the vault because that shit was ass. Young Weezer, that video is out though. There's a video of Kobe rapping out, so I don't know about that. There's a video of him rapping that you can find. I would say Sabala's video was worse than Kobe's though. I thought Sabala's was a little more cheesy. You out there in California? Now I thought, well, Kobe's production was a little better, but Sabala's was kind of weak. Face is greasy. But that's interesting. Hear what you got. This is how they do things, and this is how they call these spirits up. I don't think I've touched on this, but I want y'all to notice this. Notice this, okay? They always call up spirits, especially these old stars. It's almost these old stars are a type of demons. And what they do is, and it's a dying, in a way it's dying, but in grocery stores, it is not really dying. In certain grocery stores, it's not really dying, and that's magazines. Now, you have to look at what they call up, because when you go to these grocery stores and you see in these magazines, you see in the spirits they invoking. Like, especially they'll show you dead. Like, I walk in there, some Kennedy shit, and it's somebody else. They're invoking this stuff. And so if you pick into this, this is my favorite little, and you take that shit home, you're invoking it too. But this is what they do. This is how they cast. And it's a pattern you can clearly see what they're bringing in. You go to these stores and you see who they're bringing in, who they want you to invoke by purchasing this, and then you sitting there and spending time with it and looking at it, and your family looking at it. That energy spreads through all y'all. So notice that, and just laugh. Because that's what a lot of this is, you see that this, you can't just look at these magazines and think this is just randomly who just is they like. It has never been like that. It is always a mind, a consciousness behind what's behind it. Almost, the bowl doesn't show up real good, but like the bowl is so many different layers. Like, look at all these different layers of etchings. All this plays a part when I bring these tunes in. There's etchings, the etchings on the back. You understand? All this plays a part in what you're listening to and what's coming out. It's the point of putting it on there. So you're getting that too. Oops. And can it all be confusing? Sometimes it is. But starting to read, like today I was slow on reading the signs. When I saw all the trucks today, it was telling me that there's going to be some bullshit out there with a truck. Stay up on it. And again, I paid attention enough, and I wasn't late reactive, but I had to pull off the highway a little bit, just a little bit. Didn't really no dust or nothing. It's just a little bit of side and weaved away. But that was, getting signals earlier, like this is some bullshit around you, so pay attention. It was a change in the matrix, is I guess my point. Visions. Young Weezer said the album was called Visions. Okay. Doesn't mean anything really, but I thought the album was called Kobe for some reason. I don't know. I never I don't know, those pictures they show where he's wearing the what do they call those kind of hats? Bandinos kind of hat, the straight kind of hat. And he's got that nose. And it just, Yeah. But like Michael Jordan used to do them cheap ass like Guess watches, and he did some cheesy shit too. I remember all that shit. The Michael Jordan cologne, that was the stinkiest shit ever. I remember I got that shit for Christmas. Oh, that shit stayed in the bathroom. I gave it to one of my children. They was like, "Oh, Michael Jordan!" Like, don't spray that stinky shit. That shit stink. Damn. It's like, motherfucker, you had to smell this shit. You really smelled this shit and thought this shit was gonna, you telling me you did not smell that nasty shit. And it wasn't terribly expensive. I think when it came out, I want to say it came out at Macy's when it first came out. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's where it came out. I think it first came out, but that shit stank. Damn. I call that Brave Bull. You know, when you see the old JJ Good Times and shit, he always has some shit called Brave Bull. I think is where I got that from. Or I made some joke off that, but he would have the cheapest of the cheap. You know, he living up in the Taylor homes. These was the perfect example of some broke motherfuckers. You know, the boys is sharing a bed, you know, in the front room. The same place as the couch, you know, like they didn't have, like they couldn't get two couches up in there. They just both had to sleep like that. I'm like, okay, if they got to sleep in here, let me get two couches. It was a room for two couches. I guess they didn't think like that. What do they say? Sometimes it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. And so that's why it's just learning to stay balanced. Learning to stay balanced, y'all. I didn't even know Puerto died until not too long ago. He got hit by a car, apparently. Yeah, apparently. Isn't that what you said, Conscious? Apparently, yeah. Robbed. Probably his biggest fight, he got cheated. But the one dude, the mixed martial artist or something, I think that's his name, he did a breakdown of Whitaker, one of the greatest styles ever. Watch this breakdown. I think it's called the mixed martial artist. But he did a breakdown, great breakdown of Purnell. I love the technical part of boxing. Despite these sports being fixed, there still are technical parts. I mean, really, that is why boxing, martial arts are so easy to script. And to understand where it goes back to in film, what they learned early in film was sword fighting. Now, if you know anything about sword fighting, there are moves and counter moves. And that films very well. Things with moves and counter moves. And that's what dancing is, especially two people dancing. You know, there's moves and she has to counter your move to stay with you. You're doing a move and she got to do it backing up most of the time. But again, move, counter move. Well, you see, fighting is the same thing. Rocky was terribly successful when they hated Ali and all these brothers being champions for 50 years. They had to make up one. But again, it looks good on film. And you can script them this way too. You know, you get beat up in the second, third round and let him take. I mean, it's a lot of different ways to script it. As I said before, if you don't think Mike Tyson fought a scripted fight, look at that dude fly off the ropes. Look at that fight. That fight right there shows you. If you don't think his other... Now, Jesse Ferguson, yes, he broke that nigga's nose. Boom! That shit. I mean... And Jesse came out to interview. His nose was this big. He came out to interview. His shit was all blowed up. But not the bouncing off the ropes, dude. Watch that fight. Watch them first 10, 20 fights. A lot of them fights is sus, as they say. Very sus. Okay, hour and a half, yeah. That's why I look at Buster Douglas fight. I think he was looking at that too, right? He didn't have to do nothing. And Buster was going to just go down. And I think he had to fight. It looked like in the third round, you could see that Mike did not think he had to fight, and Mike saw he had to fight. And he didn't have the people in his ring to deal with the swelling, the coaching, you know. He had some flunkies, you know, again, he supposedly created this. He had some flunkies in the corners, you know. They don't go get a condom because he, you know, not knowing that he can't put Vaseline on his face because he's allergic to it to help with the swelling. No ice man, no cut man, none of that. Just his boys. What was the movie that Damon Wayans played in? You know, that movie mimicked that in a lot of ways, you know. That movie in the ending, it was the Hudlin brothers. They did the ending to that. The Great White Hype. Greatest ending ever. I mean, far as the credits, their credits when they let all of them dance and shit, that shit is gold. Because you can see each character's, or just not even the character, the person's personality just in the dance and this shit is really great at the end. The ending is great. As I said, Jimmy Bo Horns, look him up to watch the Soul Train dancing. The one that did that before was Crooklyn with Spike Lee. Spike Lee in his closing credits, he played some Soul Train stuff. And, you know, Soul Train really didn't shit. I had heard Magic bought Soul Train. At one time, I know Magic owned Soul Train. So I don't know if he still does, but at one time, I know he did. A lot of times you see Tony Cornelius speaking, but at one time, I know Magic did own that. But, yeah, Crooklyn. The end of Crooklyn is kind of cool because they play, you know, some other music and they you know, pop and locking and shit. That fight versus Chavez was bullshit. Stevie Wonder, yeah, that was bullshit. He beat Chavez. I don't think every pro boxing MMA is scripted, but I do believe a good amount are. I say, as I said, that's the one fight where, you know, I watch a lot of fights and I rewatch a lot of the history of fights, and I try to look at, you know, where I see that, because you can see, and there are times where, yeah, they have to fight, but I try to look for that kind of thing too. Is there scripting? Is there tells? I look at that kind of thing too as I study this old history, because I just love, you know, I love all history. I love the history of sports. I love the history of just individual people too, and their family stories. You know, what do you think about Tank Davis? He has power in both hands. I know that I watch the Craigslist brothers, and they know him apparently and watch a lot of his fights. Seems a good fighter. We'll see. He's in a very competitive class, so we'll see if he can stand up to it, because you got a lot of brothers that can move and hit. So we'll see. It's again, it like what happened to Roy Jones Jr. was sad, because there just wasn't people around him. And it really was, he had to go up in weight and he was older to when you really saw a decline in him. And some of those fights were scripted too. Him losing that first time he lost the light heavyweight championship, definitely. The dude who was in the Rocky movie, yeah, that shit was so scripted. And that was back when I had to box. You know, you had to box to get free pay-per-view. I had to box. If y'all remember that, you could buy a box to get free pay-per-view. I had to take the box out because it gave you the Playboy shit too. So we'll see. We'll see as he goes against better and better competition. And there's a lot of competition out there for him. But as I said, Roy Jones Jr., there really wasn't competition in his natural weight class. He had to go up so much. And they started scripting fights against him as he went up. Now, remember, they let Sugar Ray Leonard win light heavyweight championship at one point. He beat Donnie Lalonde, and that fight looked kind of... It's like the Tommy Hearns fight. Like, Tommy Hearns would whip his ass the first 7-8 rounds, and then it's like he would give up because he's supposedly tired. So really, every fight, he's got to get tired at the end. Don't this dude train? I mean, it wasn't like when he fought Haggard, or whatever his name is. When he fought him, when he fought Hagler, and he broke his hand. Wasn't like that. He broke his hand. Hit that dude in the top of his head and broke his hand. So he really couldn't hit. So yeah, Valerie, we'll see, because this fighter's out there for him. We'll see how he'll do against the fighters, because he's gonna face it. It's one of my homeboys is a bookmaker, and I ask him all the time if he knows the sports are rigged, and he never gives me a straight answer. He always dodges the question with a joke. I mean, to him, it don't really matter. To him, it don't really matter. I mean, it's gonna go. The bettors hedge every angle, so to him, he knows. It's going to favor the house most of the time. So the bettors set it to get people drawn in. That's what the betting scale is. To get people drawn in, and so they win regardless. And so there's different ways that they fix it. So it's controlled. I mean, again, there's too much money involved for it not to be controlled. I mean, you want to say $1 billion business? You're talking about $1 billion of betting. I mean, look at leading up to the playoffs, where you can guarantee to be part of $1 billion worth of betting. I mean, I bet. Look at every week. I mean, hundreds of millions is bet almost every week. I bet $100 million is bet every weekend. Football, college, and pro. I bet $100 million is probably wagered, if not more, during that week. Every week, college and pro games. Would not surprise me. So, I just think, with Roy Jones, I know it's delayed, but I think Bernard Hopkins, yeah, I like Bernard Hopkins too. I did. Again, he started the game late, and you saw where that caught up, where he had to fight till he was older because he started late. But a great fight, great, destroyed Trinidad. And then Hopkins destroy Trinidad. Trinidad and went up in weight. I don't think, Valerie, I don't think his mistake was going up, but it was going up and getting older. I think those was two combined mistakes. But there was nowhere for him to go in his natural weight, which was probably what? Super welterweight, middleweight, super middleweight, something like that. 160. 160, 155, 160 was probably his natural fighting weight. Instead, he had to go up to 185, 175, 185. And I just think, because that first fight where he got knocked out by Tarver, that I don't know. It was like he wasn't in shape. I don't know. It just the way they played it out. It was like he wasn't in shape. He couldn't take a punch. So, and they did them they made him lose 2 or 3 fights like that, where he's just getting knocked out by people. All of a sudden, you can't get away. Now, he did move up, and it's not going to take away your ability to, get away from punches. So I just think the script turned because they were trying to push these other people, and they had pushed him for so long. And perhaps he got out of favor with it. I don't know. But it just was it was like no one for him to fight in his natural weight. So he had to, you want to fight, you want to make money, you got to fight who they put in front of you. So, yeah, Hopkins versus Trinidad. Yeah, he whooped Trinidad's ass. And see, Trinidad made the same mistake. This dude, the Mexican fighter that looks European, he making the same mistake Trinidad made, is not speaking English. I mean, he's going to suffer. I mean, he would make more. Trinidad would have made a lot more money if he'd spoke English. I never understood why Trinidad didn't speak. So Durant didn't either. But Trinidad came into where he would have really fit in. He had the looks, but didn't learn how to speak English. So you didn't see a lot of commercial stuff for him at all. I don't think I ever saw any Trinidad commercials. So I thought that was a big mistake. But yeah, Hopkins, that was Hopkins, peak Hopkins. And because Trinidad was a great fighter. Definitely was a great fighter. But again, when you get hit, it changes your mind. You get hit, it puts some shit on your mind. Dawson is still boxing at a high level. Dude was, I feel like it doesn't get as much credit as he should. Dude's been boxing since I was a teenager. Chad Dawson. Okay, I'll check him out. I don't know that name off the top. I don't know that name. Like, I didn't watch this stuff last weekend. My son and them was all at a party and shit. I'm like, okay, I'll be watching that bullshit. I watched the Twins. I think the Twins lost to the Rangers, 6-5. I think it was like they had 3-0 lead, 3-0 lead, and the pitcher gave up 6 runs before they took him out. Gave up 6 runs. Dude, who, and he didn't throw any strikeouts, but he was solid. He shut him out for 3 innings, 3-4 innings, and then they got that lead. They did the Twins, but it was 6-5 in the 8th. I started watching Nick. I saw Nick was on, so I started watching on my TV. Turned it on the TV. Watched Nick on the big screen. So when he was showing the different mics and shit, I got good notes, screenshots and shit. So, yeah, that's how I do it. James Toney. Now, I was talking about the drunken monkey style. Tony kind of that one brother really was he boxed everybody the best, the drunken monkey style. But so did Tony. He used a little bit of that. He used a bit of the shoulder, the Philly shell. That's what I like when I watched a guy like him. He used everything that came before him, and that's what I think people miss about Ali. What they miss about Ali is that Ali used a lot of the skills and what was done by, being just always hungry for boxing and being a boxing historian. So he used a lot of these technical things. That's why no one can knock Ali as one of the best technical fighters ever. I mean, probably ever. One of the best technical fighters ever. Now, again, when he got older, he was getting hit, but up to the point where he didn't get hit, look at everything else. Now, granted, everything is fixed, but look at everything technical. Look at the way he would escape out of danger, always the same type of rhythm. I mean, a very great technical fighter. I mean, he made mistakes like trying to hook with Joe Frazier, but he still ranked Ali Frazier 1 as one of the best fights of all time. Probably the last time you saw really where they was going to let a dude kill another dude. I'll say that. They really let them damn near kill each other. Joe Frazier almost died after the fight. Well, it's fairly, you should know that. And Joe Frazier was ready to die for it. I mean, he says a prayer. That's what he asked God. He said, he's like they said, he wanted to be carried out on this shield. Like, if I got to lose this motherfucker, make me die. They take me to die to win. I mean, that's a hell of a thing, There's a hell of a energy to put out there. I'm willing to die to get this. So I don't care how many times you hit me. I'm coming. From 1 to 15, I'm coming in your face, swinging at your ass. I don't care. Your punches ain't gonna stop me. Not tonight. A lot of times they did. But if you just want to see. Now I tell you, I can't see my cousin's fight when my cousin got killed on ABC. I haven't seen that fight again. I've looked for it, can't find it. So I think they took that fight off. My cousin, he got killed on Wild Water Sports. Yeah, Kevin Thomas. Maybe I ain't searching right, but that's what I'm searching. And I know it was 84, 85. Not Kevin. Sean. Yeah, Sean Thomas, not Kevin. Sean Thomas. I couldn't find it. But shit, I'm looking up Nick. I'm looking up Nick on my TV, and they giving me some singer named Nick Taylor. I'm like, who the fuck is this dude? Some European dude, Nick Taylor. I'm like, who the fuck is this dude? Then they showed a rapper. There's a rapper named Nick Taylor too. I'm like, rapper too? Damn. They be trying to hide people. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut it here. Feel pretty good. A little stiff. I got a little stiff last night, but I did stay on close to 3 hours. Sorry about the divinations. I don't think I added anything today. Oh, Sly is so entertaining. Oh my goodness, Sly is so entertaining. I don't. Oh, as I said before, I didn't realize that Obsidian and O'Shea was two different people. I thought it was all one person. Let me see where the you favor my brother's father-in-law, Steve McMichaels. Steve McMichaels. You talking about Steve McMichaels that played for the Bears? Nah, you was bigger than me. Okay, Adrian. Uh, what really? Yeah, he fought and Randy. It got choked out in the first round. Damn, I didn't know that. Yeah, there's definitely some Warriors. I gotta watch it. I know about that. Must have needed the money. Dang. What did I miss here? James Toney fought. Oh, okay. I did not know that. James Toney fought in the UFC. Like, I never wondered why Kimbo Slice, I never wondered why did Kimbo Slice, why didn't he just go into boxing? I guess that was the best deal he got was to go to WWA. But I don't know. I didn't get that. Like, why did he, or whatever that's called, why did Kimbo Slice, a obvious boxing would have been easier than what he was trying to learn. Because if you don't have the grappling game, you don't have the martial arts game, you're at a disadvantage. He only really had, boxing and street. He had to learn footwork and all that. And maybe he couldn't get all that. Maybe he couldn't get the true footwork of being a boxer. I don't know, but I still don't understand that. He got his thing without having the background of being a wrestler. Now, maybe you wrestled in high school, I can't say. But to me, marketing, yes, but they embarrassed him. They didn't let him win his first match. He lost. Remember that? Remember Kimbo Slice's first match? He lost. But Tony, great technical boxer. Like that shit with him and Roy Jones Jr. is a good fight. I mean, he mimicked Roy Jones. Roy did, the rooster shit. And then Tony tried to do it, and Roy caught his ass. And Tony buckled. Man, that was a good fight. That was a decent fight. And that was probably, but again, Roy was fighting up. Tony was heavier. Tony, I think, was what, light heavyweight at that time, wasn't he? Wasn't Tony light heavyweight? Again, he was fighting up. But that was probably, and Tony was, probably the best fighter he faced that was truly sort of in his weight. Tolver and them was, when he went up fighting them, they were actually bigger guys and older. You're going up and you're older. Kind of hard. Yeah, the bare knuckle fighting, that's kind of always been. I'll tell you, it's funny. When I lived in Greensboro, every weekend, not far from where I live, you could watch dogs fight, you could watch roosters fight. You could go where dudes was fighting bare knuckle. I mean, it was just all this going on back in the 70s and early 80s. People would pay, pay for that kind of stuff. Or people would pay, go fight where the other place, where the animals is fighting. But dog fighting was common. Now, I can't say yay or nay about it, but it was common, really common. Every weekend. It went on every day. You could go out there every day. Every day they fought dogs. Every day they fought roosters and stuff. But weekends was the only time, I would really go out there. But it was amazing, but not surprising. I mean, it was like common. It was so common. I mean, down there it was common. Wasn't looked, frowned upon. I've never down there and saw the place busted. I saw the place packed with motherfuckers. I ain't never see that place get busted. And this was no secret that this was going on. It was bars like that would lead out to these places. So this wasn't no secret. But and in New York, that was crazy. Seeing dog fighting in apartment buildings in them big lofts. That was kind of different. You go up on a big freight elevator and you go in them lofts and they fighting them dogs up in there. That shit's crazy. That shit was like, damn, I'm glad I got a gun up in here. Shit, I'm like, I got 2 or 3 guns up in here. Compared to, in North Carolina, you like on, you out in the country somewhere. It's like being in a barn. So, That's how the olden days used to be. I mean, gambling. I remember being a little boy seeing the brothels, and I talked about that. I remember brothels in my lifetime, and knowing what it was. You go by there and you see the women and shit. Wasn't no secret. It'd be some motherfuckers, mamas like Richard Pryor. Be mamas up in there. Mama getting her hustle on. And it was this kind of arrangements. I don't think people realize it's like girls can rent rooms out there too, you know? Like if a girl was messing with a person, she could go mess with him in the brothel. You know, if she was trying to be discreet and didn't want to do the hotel, she could, you know, kind of sneak in and out the brothel to mess with somebody. Or as a couple, they could rent rooms out in the brothel. They, you know, they cheating on the other spouses. I mean, they was used for that too. You know, DC used to have where you could rent the hotel rooms by the hour. Like crackheads would get together, you know, put their money together and go rent a place for 2-3 hours to get high up in there. Can you imagine that shit? Well, how long do you want? That's why it used to be a song out called $55 Motel, $55 Motel, $55 Motel. I used to have that, had a 12-inch. Toonie got UFC is because he was talking shit, so they gave him a fight versus Randy. Hopes to get his ass whooped, which is exactly what happened. Yeah, if you don't have the ground game and you only got some weeks to practice against the ground game, you're really at a big disadvantage. You're really like when my son and them and Roni, like my bodyguards, when they was going at that shit, they was going at it. Matter of fact, I talk about Devo that's playing for the U, number 91, Devo Easton. When they would all go do that shit, I mean, they would roll for almost an hour. They'd be on the mat. Like their beginning workout was mat work. Like he's talking about doing 40, 50 different just rolls an hour. So it's a hard workout. And if you don't have that background, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Because eventually, you know, you're gonna have to get up. And if you don't know how to get up, that's eventually. What did I hear? Was it Nick that said now see, Nick looks out for me. Nick is the perfect example why a guy like me should carry a gun all the time. I mean, I am 61 years old and I can't take a punch like I once could. I absolutely know that. There was a day where I could take a punch. I would fight. When I would get in fights, I would like to see how a dude could hit. When a dude couldn't hit, he was in trouble because I could take a punch. I was a natural counter puncher just because I was both handed. But yeah, not now. So yeah, you put yeah, it's silly. It's silly to go out there. It's people are just crazy. People are crazy these days. Damn, he found out the highway that all they're talking, and Tony couldn't back it up. That's the game. At least he got in. I give it to him for getting in. At least he got in there. You know, he's like, hey, give it a chance. But it's not enough training because you got to know how to get up. Like they did a fight of the girl. There was some women fighting, and they really, like I said last night, the fight ended. The girl got up twice from being taken to the ground, and the girl started hitting her. And so the girl was covering a little bit, but it was like no way you thought that she was submitted. And they stopped the fight. They stopped the fight. Then the next instance, the girl who won the fight, they showed a commercial of it. I was like, this is some bullshit. Did y'all catch that last weekend? The girl, they stopped the fight. The one girl, you could see just the way they built it up that they needed the other. It was like, so-and-so needs to win to stay in this. And sure enough, she wins. But not only does she win, as soon as they break away, it is a commercial with her in it. I was like, this is some bullshit. Thoughts on Gerald McCollin? I don't know him. I don't know that name offhand. Do you think they permanently sidelined because he was torturing and killing dogs? Oh. Could be. Like I've said about that Michael Vick stuff. Wow. Torturing. Yeah, I don't know him. But could be. Definitely could be. But that's the way they breed them dogs. Them dogs lose. They don't breed. You know, them dogs is, you know, they're fighting dogs. And so they don't want to breed a dog that lost. And that's the way they do it. So, I mean, it's very common practice among, and I can't say it's inhumane because it is. But it's something that's went on forever. I think Florida and South Carolina, I think cockfighting is legal. Shit, in Florida, you can that halai, you can bet on that shit. You can bet on the dogs racing, and the dogs think they getting a rabbit they can never have. And then the way they say they treat the dogs afterwards, you know. So, um, he was a Detroit boxer. He had great promise, but he was known for being a terrible person. I have to look him up. Oh, yeah, okay. The name is kind of coming back. Let me look him up to get an opinion. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about now. Gerald McCullum. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that name. I kind of remember that name. So I have to check him out. But it's been a lot of players like that. What's his name? I was thinking about the basketball player today. The one they copy and White Man Can't Jump. Reggie Hardy. Reggie Hardy was a real terrible person. I mean, this dude, as I said before, he was probably the first dude that went directly from high school to NBA. Did it the first year, like 47 or 1948. That's the first person that really did it. When the league first started, it was a high school dude that hooped that first year. So, but after that, I think Reggie Harding would have been the next guy. And Reggie Hardy, what's her name from the Supremes? The pretty one, not Diana Ross, but Florence Ballard. He raped Florence Ballard because they went to the same high school. Uh, this He went to prep school for a couple years, had some issues, never went to college, and then went to the NBA. Played with the Pistons, the Bulls, but it's all kind of crazy stories about him. And then finally, a dude shot him in the street. But he's the dude where, you know, he put on a mask and went in to rob a store in the neighborhood he lived in. And he the only 7-foot nigga living in the neighborhood. So that's where that story come from that Marcus Johnson did. That come from Reggie Hardy, but very similar. You know, just a terrible motherfucker. They just say that Reggie Hardy went to an ABA team and got cut because he had a gun in the locker room, so they cut him. Another time he had a gun in the hotel room, the dude told on him, so he got cut. So this dude was like on a spiral, about to do shit, and I think he became a heroin junkie. And I was talking to my friend, last night. We talking about, 60s. It was functioning heroin people. I mean, very functioning heroin people. And heroin was just their drug, and they were functioning. These people worked every day, had normal jobs, and they just liked doing heroin. I mean, it was that prevalent. It was you could say at one time heroin was probably was like smoking cigarettes. It was so prevalent. The first time my dad tried to say no against drugs, he even introduced me to a heroin person. I was like third grade. He's like, I don't ever want you to do drugs. I'm gonna show you why. This is my friend, he do heroin. Like, okay. And then he explained what heroin was. And like, why does he do it then? If there's all this bad shit to it, why does he do it? And Dad couldn't give me an answer. Couldn't give me an answer. But, I got to see what a junkie was. But these people, my cousins, my one cousin was shooting heroin in high school hooping. And he was 6'5", 6'6", hooping. They lost in the quarterfinals. I think state. He played some junior college, but he was a junkie. So, but kept the same job. I mean, once he quit hooping, he worked for what used to be called the Five and Dime. He worked for Woolworth. Like in Greensboro, Woolworth was the sit-ins and shit. Well, he worked for the one in Kalamazoo. He worked for that motherfucker till they closed the motherfuckers. The Woolworths till they closed them all. But he worked for him like 30-some years. Like right when he got out of high school, he stayed with that company. But he was a junkie. So you can't say he wasn't responsible. Motherfucker ain't responsible with the same job for 30 years. So he's pretty responsible, but he was a junkie. A lot of that generation I knew. One of my other dudes, the partners I knew. It was funny watching him because he used to try to hustle cane and be a junkie at the same time. Shit was funny to watch. Motherfuckers be doing cane and shit too, you know. I went to some of their parties and shit, just tripping. Remember my cousin snorted up some fucking heroin. I'm like, he ain't know. Like, what the fuck you mean you ain't know? You didn't look at that shit? Like, he's like, his stomach was hurting and shit. He's like, oh, that was that boy. I'm like, I'm looking at that shit. I wasn't gonna snort that shit. So, but it's interesting. It's interesting watching how people act. Valerie says, you think that tactic your dad used was effective by showing you the attic? Nah, because all my cousins smoke weed. All my cousins smoke weed. I saw my dad smoke weed. That's why, like, the first time I saw my dad smoke weed was in a hookah. They had a hookah. I was in third grade. They took me, you know, again, I wasn't my mother weekend or whatever. I don't know. But he took me and his stepwife over to some apartments where I knew people. And we sat in their basement and they had a hookah. The dude had like a trash can full of weed. He was pulling weed out of the trash can and he put it in the hookah. And my dad and his wife was hitting in his coffin and shit. So this nigga he smoked cigarettes. When my dad was young, he smoked cigarettes. And he drank liquor. He drank beer, but he was a liquor drinker too. I'm just a beer drinker for the most part. I'm very rarely liquor. Very, very rarely. So I don't know. Didn't really, you know. I mean, it did make me not want to shoot heroin. I'll say that. It did make me not want to shoot heroin. Because, like, you could see the track marks and shit, you know. You could see that shit. And it wasn't no, you know, me viewing. It was like we saw it, but you could just see the shit. And so my girlfriend, my senior year, her sister was a junkie. And I remember I'll take it back. I was about to say pretty girl. Nah, she wasn't really that pretty. She was average, but she would always get old dudes, but I knew she was a junkie. And matter of fact, her and my cousin, she has a daughter that's my cousin's sister. But she was a junkie, and I was able to see that. It hurt. I was like, oh, shit. I was like, your sister. I had to tell her, because this is her younger sister I'm with. And I'm like, you know, your sister's a junkie. You know that, don't you? And she's like, yeah, she kind of knew. You know, I kind of like, what is this? I kind of explained it, but she kind of knew it was some, yeah. She's like, yeah, I kind of heard other people say that. I didn't really know what it was, but other people have said that. So, so I was able to see it. But like I talk about my old roommate, I never saw, like, you know, we worked outdoors. His shirt's off all the time. So I don't know where he shot it. It wasn't in his arms. We worked out, you know, we worked down in North Carolina in the summertime. Ain't nobody wearing long sleeve shirts all day. It'd be impossible. You would burn up. And he wore short sleeve shirts and he didn't have track marks. So I don't know if he's shooting between his toes and his legs. I can't tell you. Can't really say I saw his legs a lot. So I can't say yay or nay. But never in his arms. I've never noticed that in his arms. I said, he used to be my roommate. I was like, he's like 10 years older than me. I was like 23, 24, and he was like in his 30s. But he was an addict. So, but it made me not want to use heroin. I mean, it's never to the point where I wanted to use heroin. I ain't never say, well, damn, you know, that needle looked really good there. Like, can I try some of that? But I mean, you know, it's no wonder. I'll say this: the way the people, like, if you get 2 or 3 people that shoot heroin, they will at one point they would all shoot the heroin. And I mean, this is why AIDS, because I don't know if y'all noticed, but like what they do is they shoot it in, and they pull the syringe back, and then they shoot it in again. But like they shoot just a little bit, but I forget what they call it, backing it or whatever they call it out, but they like double shoot it and shit. But they would like each, you know, it'd be so much of the shot in there, you know, it'd be like that much of the shot, and they would each do. It's crazy. And they would like pass it to the next person. The next person would be tied off, and boom, that shit's a trip. But it's like for people to do it, they just wait their turn. It was natural to share the needle though. It was very like nothing. That's why, you know, they went after them people. You can't say that those people weren't attacked, that was an experiment that they knew they could do against the people that used that. But I guess the worst story is that model. You know, Angelina Jolie played that model. They said the model had sores so bad from shooting that she wouldn't stop. At one time, this chick was making $10,000-$20,000 an hour, and you know she turned in such a bad junkie. You know, terrible things happened to her before she died. You know, you imagine, you know, all the things you got to put up with just going to being a model, and how, you know, just probably she probably used heroin to try to deal with all the craziness that came around her being a model. And so heroin at one point was probably her way of dealing with all the crazy shit she had to do. And at some point, you know, it took over because you can be functioning again. I still don't care what people say. Fentanyl still. Now, this is what I did find out. You know, fentanyl is a prescribed drug. Fentanyl is a prescribed drug. A lot of dentists still use fentanyl. So it's still a prescribed drug. Tectus, hepatitis, crazy. Yeah, hepatitis. Yeah, I know a couple people got it from hepatitis. No doubt. Yeah. Dirty Nia going down, sharing the line. Yeah. Yeah. Sharing the line. Yep. Yep. And it's funny how you hear people the old story. Well, you know, when the junkie dies, everybody wants his dope and that shit. But that shit would be with crack too, you know. Motherfuckers talking about, you know, motherfucker had crack that had motherfuckers running around the house and shit. Motherfuckers is pounding your door down. It was the same kind of way. If you had good shit, no matter what you had, people would come at you. So that ain't just if somebody OD. Well, let's go over there. Maybe we're next. What? He died? That nigga died? Oh, we got to go over there and get that good shit, baby. Shit. That shit killed his ass, and that nigga could have took the whole world worth of it. We got to go get. Hey, Harry, hey, you know, motherfucker OD'd off that shit. You still got some of that shit? Yeah, baby, come on over. I got it. All right, we see you. Be the same thing with crack. Motherfucker got good crack. Yeah, you ain't word of mouth. Repeat customers. But yeah, hepatitis is real. Like what happens to people with hepatitis is very similar. You know, you get sores, and the sores won't heal, and that's what happened to my ex mother-in-law. She ended up, you know, was a crack addict for years, and then we tried to help her by living here with us. She lived with her here with us, and she was the first person that I saw have to be hospitalized because of her crack addiction. I mean, my ex-wife, we never had to hospitalize her, but her mother, like, they had to come get her. She was feeling so bad. Like, trying to get off it was so hard for her. And yeah, she passed young, like 53, 54, technically and she smoked cigarettes her whole life. I mean, probably a pack or two a day her whole life. Like from being 14, 15 till I knew her, she smoked cigarettes her whole life. So, but yeah, for some reason, you know, two women shared a needle. Both of them died of hepatitis. Jeannie was a hag that used to walk the streets, but Jeannie had a lot of personality. But she was both. She was a crack addict and a heroin addict. And her and Jeannie shared a needle. My ex-wife liked Jeannie. She's like, Jeannie had a lot of personality. But Jeannie was funny in some ways, but she was a hag. Like, I would see her walking, and I'm like, really, motherfuckers is picking this hag up? I mean, she really looked at her like, this is a hag. Then there was another lady in town. They said that the lady in town, if you bought her a 40, they called her the $1.25 lady or some shit like that. She'd blow you for just giving her a 40. She was like a stone cold drunk. So, like, you call her what? You're like, oh yeah, this is $1.25 lady. That was her name. That's what people called her. She's the $1.25 lady. Give her a 40. Yeah, Gia. That was her name. Yep, Gia. And Gia probably had hepatitis too. Richard Pryor, good shit, I'm gonna die. Thanks, Caesar. Yep, Gia. So I mean, that's extreme. That's why like understanding that, like at one point caps of heroin was like $1. You know, you looked at the pill cap, you could feel the pill cap, and those was selling for $1. You get that much heroin in a little pill cap. Now they want you to say, they're trying to tell you that that same pill cap, you can cut it 1,000 times and it would kill 1,000 people. I don't know if that's believable. I don't know that it's that strong. I still look at the hustle aspect. It doesn't make sense as a substitute. I mean, it seems like people are targeted. That's what it seems like. People get targeted. And I've seen plenty of stories where people got targeted over the years. So that's what it looks like. Because like the young man supposedly died, he thought he was taking a Percocet, and somebody was fentanyl, and apparently somebody mixed. You know, again they didn't mix it right, and they can go after people that do that. You know, they can go after people now. They do that. Because apparently my neighbor, that's what happened to the guy that, you know, when her husband OD'd, even though she was the one that shot her husband with heroin. Because he couldn't do it. So she shot him with heroin, and she did not give him the Narcan, which she did not give him the Narcan. She just kind of let him die on the floor. And when she called, it was too late. But they went after the dude because apparently he had mixed some fentanyl with it. So they went after that guy, and that guy was already in jail for something else. And he took more charges on that killing, or they was going to go after her ass. If he would have got acquitted, they was going to go after her. So, but it's funny, like hearing even her bragging about being a heroin addict. I mean, it's just funny. That whole state of mind used to crack me up. She was proud of her heroinness. She was proud of that shit. That shit used to be funny. Just hearing these stories. And she was like a master credit card maker. That was her hustle. She knew how to make fake credit cards, the magnetic strips and all that shit. That was kind of her expertise. So it's kind of funny listening how they ran a business like that, hustling like that, you know, making fake credit cards. Her and her guy were experts apparently at this. Again, you know, people make up stories and shit is hard to understand, but that never appealed to me. It's the same with the codeine drinks and stuff. That never appealed to me either. I mean, we've all had enough medicines to know, you know, what it feel like. It give you them dreams, you know. We've had that where you're taking the pain pills. You know, I take Tramadol every day. It's a lesser form, but you know, it's even that, you know, it can get you some dreams. So you take these opioids, they all can give you dreams. That's what it is. It gives you the beautiful dream, is what you call it. I mean, it's a very similar breakthrough as acid would do, and I don't think people realize that. Except acid would take you more in the ethers. Heroin will keep you in the dream state, but it could break you through either way. But that's what the heroin does. It keeps you in that dream state. But you would be in the maximum dream state if you understand. There is a type of maximum when you go into the dream screen. I mean, it's. I guess in some ways you would say lucid dreaming. You know, heroin can, if you could have very lucid dreaming on heroin. You know? And I'm not encouraging anybody, but I'm saying that would be a part of it, no doubt. Heroin would help with that. Not help, but it could cause that. But opiates in general. I remember when you could just buy opium still. Remember people sold opium? You get a little black ball of opium. It has a steely taste when you smoke it. You get damn near any kind of pipe. You know, old opium den pipes show them long ass pipes. Let me see, get both hands. I mean, them them like 30-inch pipes, but any pipe you can smoke opium in just a little bitty weed pipe with screen, without screen, all of it burns out, but it has a very steely taste. Can't really say smoking it really got me ever, I guess, relaxed a little bit, but never really got to, from smoking it. So maybe I didn't get good stuff. I don't know, but it's fairly common. Dude have a big ball of that shit, make up little balls to people. Fairly common back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Hash was common, and hash disappeared. I learned how to make hash, but hash had disappeared pretty much 30 years, probably 40 years. It's like hash was around all the time to a point, and then when I went to North Carolina, briefly saw it in '85 and never saw it again. Not until 2000, until I moved here, 2006. Didn't see it until I started making the shit. That shit just disappeared from my knowing. Maybe other people, but I didn't know where to get that shit from. Because the shit they sold in North Carolina wasn't that. I see what they sold. Ouch. Really? I'm going to smack you. What I got to throw at you? You really just stuck me. Get down. Damn. I'm just like, all he had to do is jump on my arm or lick me. No, he's like, hey. Y'all almost saw a cat get, that'd have been a nice, what do you call it, down punch? Like, what? Boom! Y'all just saw a cat knocked out. Well, I'm going to go. I've been going for over 2 hours. I'm going to go. Should be back on tomorrow night. I'll put a note on if not. Thank you. Let me send out the positive vibes to the world. And, rest well, everyone. I really want you to rest well. I really do. May nothing attack you as you rest. And whenever you hear this, you use that the night you hear this, nothing should attack you that you have not made an agreement on. If you feel that you see in these things, smudge your room, burn a candle, but the things in your room can help you get rid of that kind of thing. So rest well. Those of you working, be safe at work. Be safe on your drive home. And love just is. Love just is. And I give you a few words from Mora, from the Time Walkers. Let me add this, though. As I've said before, maybe not, but maybe I did because I studied this a little bit. But under the Time Walkers' way of thinking, that the Cleopatra was a tribe here in America. And Cleopatra was very tied into this calendar. Cleopatra was one of the tribes of Cleopatra held some of the original treaties between the Americas and the Europeans. And so this is why in history Cleopatra is repeated, and this is why Cleopatra was killed. This is why they brought that obelisk and why it sits on the ley line in New York. They still want to control this energy. But apparently the original Bible that has nothing to do with Jesus, but is the original words of America that probably come from the mound builders, I would guess, that the Cleopatra tribe once held that. So again, we know, because what sense does it make? You look at, all of a sudden when the Greeks take over, you see a certain name just repeating. You see a certain name just repeating. I mean, some of that stuff seems so Hollywood made up, it's just hard to believe any of that stuff. So this is another possibility. But Mora, it all starts with a gentle sadness. They came from their original homeland. They knew that they had exact numbers, years, and days before they would disappear off the earth as a culture and a lifestyle. But the civilization would build to a gentle love. They knew how to separate cycles and the great serpent. And from the words of Lazarus Long, days are long, but the years are short. Thank you all for joining me. Till we meet again, say less.